Today I would like to invite you to listen to the Dhammapada of the Buddha Shakyamuni, the 134th verse from the Buddhist scriptures on the YouTube channel Thien Thai in the USA. If, like a cracked gong, you silence yourself, you have already attained nibbana. No vindictiveness will be found in you. This verse arose from a true story in which a monk, living among his community, faced repeated provocations and harsh speech from those around him. Rather than responding in anger or defending himself with words, he turned inward, observing the arising of resentment and choosing silence not out of fear, but out of awareness and wisdom. The Buddha, observing this, taught that such a mind, free from reaction, already walks in the direction of liberation. Like a cracked gong, which makes no sound when struck. A mind that has loosened attachment and discarded vindictiveness does not resonate with conflict, does not amplify provocation, and does not perpetuate cycles of harm. The disciple's silence was not emptiness or passivity. It was a full presence, a living reflection of insight, restraint, and compassion. In this way, nibbana is not merely a distant goal, but a quality experienced in the mind when vindictiveness is absent. And awareness is cultivated fully in every moment of thought, word, and action. The Buddha's teaching invites us to explore the profound relationship between speech, thought, and liberation. Words arise from the mind, carrying with them the echoes of attachment, pride, and aversion. When the mind is disturbed, speech may inflame, hurt, or provoke. When the mind is still, speech becomes an expression of clarity and care. The metaphor of the cracked gong is vivid and precise. A perfect gong produces sound when struck, echoing outward and affecting all who hear it. A cracked gong, however, responds differently. It does not amplify. It does not propagate the force of the strike. Similarly, the mind free from vindictiveness does not respond with retaliation, does not magnify harm, and does not perpetuate suffering. Silence, in this teaching, is not merely refraining from words. It is the cultivated ability to observe, to recognize the arising of harmful intention, and to allow it to dissipate without acting upon it. It is the manifestation of wisdom and compassion, showing that liberation begins not in the external world, but in the heart. When the mind ceases to react with hostility, resentment, or the desire for revenge, it experiences freedom from the cycles that bind beings to suffering. This freedom is already a taste of nibbana. It is a state in which vindictiveness cannot arise, because the seeds of craving and aversion that feed it have been carefully recognized, acknowledged, and released. The practice of inner silence as taught in this verse is subtle and profound. It does not demand withdrawal from the world or avoidance of responsibility. It asks only for mindfulness, discernment, and restraint. The Buddha points out that it is possible to live in community, engage with challenges, and face provocation while maintaining a mind that does not retaliate. Such a mind observes the causes of anger, recognizes the impermanence of offense, and chooses a response aligned with compassion rather than reaction. In doing so, the practitioner discovers that the energy once consumed by conflict, defense, or resentment is liberated and available for insight, understanding, and generosity. Each moment of choosing inner silence over reaction strengthens the mind, diminishes the habit of vindictiveness, and cultivates a steady awareness that perceives reality as it is. This awareness is the ground of nibbana. It is not something imposed externally, but something arising naturally from understanding and the careful attention given to one's own heart. Over time, this practice transforms the practitioner, creating a life in which peace, clarity, and compassion are manifest in every action, every word, and every thought. Moreover, the Buddha's teaching illuminates the role of restraint in the cultivation of freedom. Vindictiveness is a subtle form of bondage. When the mind seeks to repay harm with harm, when it rehearses slights and injuries, when it cultivates irritation or resentment, it is trapped in cycles of suffering. Each retaliatory thought, each harsh word, and each desire for revenge becomes a chain linking the practitioner to dissatisfaction and unrest. By silencing these impulses, by refusing to let them dictate speech or action, the mind breaks free from these chains. Like the cracked gong, which absorbs the strike without amplifying it. The practitioner absorbs the difficulties of life without being shaped or deformed by them. This is not indifference, not numbness, not suppression. It is a careful, awake, and compassionate engagement with the present. It is the recognition that freedom from vindictiveness allows clarity and peace to arise naturally, and that these qualities are more nourishing and reliable than the fleeting satisfaction of retaliation or pride. In this teaching, silence is not absence. It is presence. It is awareness. It is the foundation upon which the mind rests safely and steadily, free from agitation, free from revenge, and free from the disturbance that perpetuates suffering. The verse also points toward the transformative power of non-reaction in everyday life. In social interactions, when others speak harshly, insult, or challenge, the habitual response may be to strike back with words or thoughts, to justify oneself, or to harbor resentment. Yet the Buddha shows that in cultivating inner silence, these habitual reactions are replaced by mindful awareness. The mind becomes like water, reflecting what is present without distortion, without amplification, without agitation. Vindictiveness, which thrives on reaction, finds no nourishment in such a heart. The practitioner experiences calm, clarity, and steadiness, even amidst provocation. This steadiness supports insight into impermanence, interdependence, and the nature of self. As the mind rests in awareness and non-retaliation, the seeds of liberation ripen. Each moment of silence and restraint is both a shield against suffering and a doorway to deeper understanding. The verse thus integrates ethical conduct, meditation, and insight, demonstrating that nibbana is not separate from daily practice, but arises naturally when the mind releases vindictiveness and cultivates presence. The Buddha's teaching in this verse emphasizes that liberation is not only about grand gestures or extraordinary circumstances. It is found in the ordinary interactions of daily life, in the small choices to refrain from harmful speech, in the conscious decision to observe rather than react, in the gentle turning inward of attention and care. The mind that practices in this way experiences a profound ease. It no longer seeks to dominate, control, or retaliate. It no longer carries the weight of anger or resentment. Instead, it is free to experience clarity, joy, and compassion in every moment. Like a cracked gong, which no longer resonates with the force of the strike, the practitioner no longer resonates with provocation or aggression. This silence, cultivated with awareness and mindfulness, is a living manifestation of nibbana. It is not distant. It is not theoretical. It is present here and now, in the moment when vindictiveness ceases to arise and the mind rests in freedom, clarity, and compassion. The Buddha's teaching on inner silence as a path to nibbana also reveals the subtlety of the mind's attachments and aversions. Vindictiveness, like a hidden fire, can smolder beneath the surface of thought, shaping our speech, coloring our perceptions, and influencing actions even when we are not aware of it. It arises from subtle clinging to ego, pride, and self-protection. When the mind is untrained, these tendencies manifest easily in words, gestures, and intentions, perpetuating conflict and suffering. Yet the verse points toward a path of freedom through awareness and restraint. By silencing the habitual responses of the mind, by refusing to allow vindictiveness to manifest in speech or thought, one interrupts the cycle that binds beings to suffering. Like the cracked gong, which fails to resonate when struck, the practitioner absorbs the provocations of life without generating further disturbance. This does not imply passivity or indifference. It is an active engagement of awareness, mindfulness, and discernment. The practitioner observes the arising of irritation, resentment, or desire for retaliation, and allows it to dissolve naturally without acting upon it. Each instance of such mindful silence strengthens the mind's capacity for equanimity, compassion, and insight. Over time, the habitual impulse to respond with vindictive speech or thought diminishes. The mind becomes spacious, clear, and calm, able to respond to life with wisdom and care rather than reaction. This is the essence of the Buddha's teaching. Liberation arises not from external conditions, but from the internal transformation of the heart and mind. When vindictiveness is absent, nibbana is already experienced, and the practitioner moves steadily toward full awakening, cultivating freedom, clarity, and compassion in every moment. The cultivation of silence, as described by the Buddha, is intimately connected with mindfulness in every aspect of life. Life presents countless opportunities for provocation, criticism, or challenge, whether from family, community, or society at large. When the mind is untrained, each of these interactions may elicit reactive thoughts, harsh words, or subtle resentment, reinforcing the cycle of suffering. Yet the practitioner who cultivates awareness sees the arising of these impulses and chooses restraint. In doing so, silence becomes an expression of mindfulness, a deliberate and compassionate response to the conditions of the present moment. This inner silence does not isolate the practitioner from the world or from relationships. On the contrary, it enhances clarity, presence, and effectiveness. Words spoken after such reflection are informed by understanding rather than impulse, by care rather than self-interest. The mind that has cultivated this silence experiences a freedom that is not dependent on circumstances, praise, or success. It rests steadily in clarity and compassion, unaffected by provocation. The practice of inner silence thus becomes both a shield against suffering and a vehicle for insight. It allows the practitioner to respond wisely to the world, maintaining harmony in relationships, clarity in perception, and freedom in the heart. Over time, this practice transforms daily interactions into opportunities for awakening, demonstrating that the path of nibbana is not distant or abstract, but alive in the ordinary and the immediate. The Buddha's teaching also reveals that silence is not merely the absence of speech, but the cultivation of a mind free from the disturbances of attachment and aversion. Vindictiveness is a subtle form of agitation arising from the desire to assert the self, to protect ego, or to repay perceived harm. When such agitation subsides, when the mind rests without clinging, the practitioner experiences a profound ease and steadiness. This inner calm is the condition in which nibbana can be glimpsed. Like the cracked gong, which no longer resonates with the force of the strike. The mind that has released vindictiveness absorbs provocations without disturbance. Silence in this sense is a form of presence, an active engagement with reality as it is. It allows observation of thoughts, emotions, and impulses without being swept away by them. It nurtures wisdom, enabling discernment of what is skillful and what is harmful. It nurtures compassion, allowing care for others without reaction or judgment. Through such cultivated silence, the mind experiences freedom, and the practitioner walks the path of awakening with clarity, equanimity, and gentleness. This teaching emphasizes that liberation is not the result of suppression, avoidance, or denial, but the natural unfolding of awareness, mindfulness, and compassionate restraint. In addition, the Buddha's instruction in this verse highlights the relational and social dimension of silence. Harsh speech, vindictive words, and reactive communication ripple outward, affecting the consciousness of others and creating cycles of conflict, distrust, and suffering. When a practitioner cultivates silence in the midst of provocation, these ripples of harm are not generated. The absence of retaliation or vindictive speech allows harmony to be preserved, understanding to arise, and trust to deepen. This is not withdrawal from the world, but skillful engagement with it. The practitioner navigates social interactions with clarity, presence, and compassion. Others sense the steadiness and calm of such a mind, and are naturally inclined to respond with respect, trust, and goodwill. In this way, the practice of silence contributes not only to the practitioner's own liberation, but also to the well-being of the community. The Buddha shows that freedom from vindictiveness is not an isolated attainment, but a living practice with relational, social, and ethical significance. It manifests in speech, action, and presence, supporting both individual awakening and collective harmony. The cultivation of the cracked gong-like mind also serves as a powerful tool for the transformation of habitual anger and resentment. The mind, when trained to refrain from vindictive speech and reactive thought, begins to develop new patterns of perception. Provocations are no longer experienced as personal attacks, but as conditions arising in accordance with causes and effects. The practitioner observes them with equanimity, understanding that they are temporary and shaped by the ignorance and suffering of others as well as by one's own habitual tendencies. In this awareness, the mind is no longer moved by agitation. Silence arises naturally as a protective and liberating presence. It does not create distance, coldness, or apathy. Rather, it allows clarity, compassion, and wisdom to guide speech and action. The practitioner can engage with the world fully, responding appropriately without creating harm or perpetuating cycles of suffering. In this way, the verse teaches that inner silence is both a shield and a path, protecting the mind while cultivating conditions for awakening and realization of nibbana. Thank you for watching my video. Namo Amitabha. I wish to bring this merit towards all disciples and sentient beings, all of whom will attain Buddhahood. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really appreciate your time.